He thought no one could see him. Every night, when the house fell silent and the world outside dimmed to a soft gray, he would sit at the edge of the couch, shoulders shaking, tears slipping down his face in the darkness. For 6 long months, he carried his grief like a stone in his chest, believing he was strong enough to hide it. But pain has a sound. It has a presence. And sometimes, even the smallest hearts can hear it. If you believe in kindness and second chances, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that even in our darkest seasons, love is still quietly working behind the scenes. Maya had noticed the change the first week it began. Her husband Daniel had always been the steady one, the man who laughed too loud at his own jokes, who built pillow forts for their twin daughters on Sunday afternoons, who kissed her forehead every morning before work. But after the accident at the construction site that cost him his job and left him with a lingering injury, something inside him shifted. It wasn't just the loss of income. It was the loss of identity, the loss of purpose. He tried to mask it during the day. He limped through chores, forced smiles at dinner, nodded along as the girls told stories about school. But at night, when he thought everyone was asleep, the mask fell away. Maya would wake to the faint sound of muffled sobs from the living room. She would lie still, tears pooling in her own eyes, unsure whether to walk out and hold him or to respect the fragile pride he was clinging to. Their twin girls, Lily and Emma, were only 5. Too young, Maya thought, to understand the weight of adult sorrow. She underestimated them. Children notice patterns. They notice when laughter fades. They notice when bedtime hugs grow tighter. For months, Lily and Emma would peek from the hallway, seeing their father sitting alone in the dim light of the television that wasn't even turned on. They saw the tissue in his hand. They saw the way he wiped his face quickly if a floorboard creaked. Daniel believed he was protecting them. He told himself that a father should be unbreakable, that tears were burdens children shouldn't carry. Every rejection email from potential employers chipped away at him. Every bill that arrived felt like proof of his failure. Maya had picked up extra shifts at the clinic, coming home exhausted but determined. She never once blamed him. Yet in Daniel's mind, he was failing them all. Winter came and wrapped the house in cold silence. The heater hummed. The twins colored at the kitchen table while Maya prepared dinner. Daniel stared out the window at the bare trees, his reflection looking back at him like a stranger. He barely recognized the man he'd become. One evening, after a particularly long day of unanswered phone calls and another polite rejection, Daniel broke earlier than usual. The girls were still awake, brushing their doll's hair in the hallway. He thought they were too busy to notice him slip into the living room. He sat down heavily, elbows on knees, and the tears came faster than he could stop them. From the hallway, Lily froze. Emma looked up at her sister. They didn't speak, but something passed between them. A quiet understanding only twins seemed to share. They padded toward the living room, their small feet barely making a sound on the wooden floor. Daniel didn't hear them until he felt a tiny hand on his cheek. He flinched at first, embarrassed, but when he looked up, he saw Lily's wide blue eyes studying him with concern far beyond her years. Emma stood beside her, clutching a stuffed rabbit to her chest. They didn't scold him. They didn't look afraid. They asked him one simple question. They asked him why he never cried with them. The words weren't accusatory. They were confused, tender. In their world, when someone was sad, they sat together. When one twin scraped her knee, the other held her hand. Tears were not hidden. They were shared. To them, sadness was not something shameful. It was something that meant you needed a hug. Daniel felt something crack open inside him, not in pain, but in release. For months he had been fighting to appear strong. But strength in that moment looked different. It looked like two little girls climbing into his lap, wrapping their arms around his neck, pressing their soft cheeks against his damp skin. Maya stood in the doorway, unseen, her hand covering her mouth as she watched. She saw the way Daniel's posture changed, the way his shoulders, always tense, finally lowered. She saw him let himself cry, not alone this time, but surrounded by the warmth of small bodies that loved him without conditions. That night, something shifted. Daniel began talking more, not about every fear, not about every bill, but enough to let the silence lift. He told the girls that sometimes grown-ups feel scared too, that losing a job can make you feel lost. And instead of seeing disappointment in their faces, he saw something else: pride. To them, their father wasn't weak. He was brave for telling the truth. In the weeks that followed, the house felt lighter. Not because the problems disappeared overnight, but because they were no longer carried alone. Daniel started attending physical therapy with renewed commitment. He accepted a temporary part-time position, something he might have once considered beneath him, but now saw as a step forward instead of a step down. Maya noticed laughter returning in small bursts. The twins noticed too. They began leaving little drawings on his desk that said, in crooked letters, "We love you, Daddy." Spring arrived quietly, melting the frost from the windows. Daniel still had moments of doubt, but he no longer hid in the dark. When he felt overwhelmed, he sat with his family. And sometimes Lily or Emma would gently wipe his cheek the way he once wiped theirs. Before we finish, I want to ask you something from the heart. If this story touched you even a little, if it reminded you of someone you love or a struggle you've faced, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel so we can keep spreading stories that matter. And right now, take a second to comment the word hope if you believe that even the smallest acts of love can change a life. Because sometimes healing doesn't come from grand gestures. Sometimes it comes from two small hands, a simple question, and the courage to stop crying alone. And in that living room, under the soft glow of an ordinary lamp, a father learned that being strong was never about hiding his tears. It was about letting the people who loved him see them, and staying anyway.